Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and once upon a time, I told you guys I was going to get rank 1 Ronin. And then a little while later, I probably told you guys multiple times I was going to push for rank 1 Wolverine. And more recently, I may have said when Iceman was announced and before he was announced, if we ever get Iceman in this game, I'm definitely going to get number 1 Iceman. But the fact of the matter is, I don't have any of them at rank 1. So I wanted to discuss, what has held me back from rank 1ing these characters and what it takes as well to rank 1 characters, because I do get these questions from time to time from fans and people in the community asking, hey, I'm in the top 100, or I'm trying to get closer. I'm rank 1000 even right now. What can I do to my build on this specific character to push them to a higher level? So I wanted to discuss that. Wolverine is probably the character that I've put the most love into, and at one point in time I was rank 1 very, very briefly for a few hours, and I held on to rank 2 for a while when he got his update, and I was able to tier 3 him instantly. But other than Wolverine, rank 1, rank 2, he's now dropped to rank 193 because of a lot of different reasons, and that's what we'll get into now. So the first thing is me as a streamer, me as a YouTuber, I'm a big target. So when I say that I want to get a character like Rocket Raccoon to rank 1, or I want to get another character, it incentivizes people that are ahead of me, or people who just want to make me suffer or watch me suffer, to try and get ahead of me. Because then they know that they're gatekeeping me and holding me back from getting that and achieving that. And then, that's trolling. It's just basic internet stuff. Some people like to do that, let's be honest. It's real. The second thing is also because I'm a YouTuber and a streamer, I like to build up every character in the game. I like to be able to make content on as many different characters as possible. So because of that, I don't have nearly as much flexibility to hyper invest into one character. Now, you might be saying, Cynicalex, you make money from this game. You can just blow that credit card and you've got 250 million gold. Why don't you just put that towards some of these characters? You're right, I could do that, but it would eventually limit me in terms of how much content I could make. And on the flip side, I would be investing possibly tens of thousands of crystals and millions upon millions of gold for just one video where I'm rank 1 for one character, and then that's it. And the crystals is really a lot more painful than the actual gold. Besides that, that's pretty much those are the only two reasons why I haven't gotten a rank 1 character and kept it at rank 1. Also, if they see me at rank 1, people are more likely to want to try and beat me if they're in the top 10 or they're close. But the things that have held me back otherwise are just regular things that hold back other people. So we're going to go from the bottom, and we're going to talk about every single piece of the build that can actually influence your growth score. Now, keep in mind, cards now do count towards growth score, but I believe that it doesn't matter what cards you have equipped as long as they are all 6-star cards. I don't think the game actually calculates what your card stats are. That would be incredibly unfair to people who just get really unlucky with those. So just keep in mind that that's not really, you could have someone with amazing cards and someone with bad cards. As long as they're rank 6, I'm pretty sure you're going to get the full 6 blue bars from that towards your growth score. But starting off with the uniform, if the character has a uniform, it immediately becomes more difficult to get them to rank 1 because you have to contend with the uniform. So that's another thing. Sometimes it's easier if you want to get your first rank 1 character, if you just want to feel that rush of building up a character. It's easier to start with a character that doesn't have a uniform because you immediately don't have that to develop. But if they do have a uniform, you must get it to Mythic, of course, and then you have to get all of the options to Mythic, of course, which I'm still missing 2 options for Wolverine. And then on top of that, you have to re-roll this stat to as close to max as possible. So in this case, I'm 9 points off. In this case, I am 22 points off, and so on and so forth. The actual stats don't matter, I believe, but the number themselves, the number of the stat is what matters. So you need to roll that up. The higher it is and the closer it is to perfect, so 1813 for example, or 606 for physical energy all attack, the better. And you'll see people who will roll things like energy attack on Wolverine or physical attack on another character that doesn't need physical attack, just because they kept changing it and they hit a stat that was perfect. Or let's say, while dodge may be the better stat overall for Wolverine, if I keep changing this and I happen to land on crowd control time down 1589, if I'm just going for rank 1, even though it's a worse build, it's an inferior stat, I should keep it because it's going to give me the most points towards my growth score. The second thing here, when you go up from the uniform, once you've maxed out all of those numbers and you've mythicked all of those 5 optional uniforms, is the Ctp of is the Obelisk slot. Now for the Obelisk, you're gonna want a Ctp. In this case, I have a Ctp of regeneration. And the complicated thing with Ctps in terms of growth score is that every single stat is worth an amount in and of itself. Now there is a cap on the amount, so you don't actually get more for having a Ctp with more stats versus a Ctp with less stats. And it's a little bit complicated, but basically some Ctps only have 3 stats, while some, like this one, obviously has more stats. It's got 50% or I believe 40% you can roll. It's also got an HP shield that's either 10%, 25%, or 35%. You have a heal that's either 5, 8, or 10%. You have the recovery rate. You have the max HP. And then you also have the guard break. Now you technically don't have, those are not all individual rolls. Some of those rolls are tied to each other, but some of them aren't. So technically speaking, and just to make it very simple, the easiest CTPs to roll in terms of CTPs that have the lowest number of stats that can change are the Ctp of Destruction and the Ctp of Authority. Now the Ctp of Destruction is technically the easiest because there are only 2 different stats you have to look for when you're rolling it. You just have to look for the crit damage. You want the crit damage to be as close to 45% as possible, because the higher it is to the cap, the more points you will get. Guard break immunity is counted as a singular roll, so that will automatically give you the max number of points. And then the last one is the Obelisk proc. You want the Obelisk proc to be, of course, 200%. That is going to automatically change the chance to penetrate to 30%, and that will give you a max roll. For the Ctp of Authority, it's pretty straightforward. It's, of course, guard break is there, and then you want 45% crit damage, and then you want below 50% HP, and then you want increases attack by 5% and invincibility for 5%. If you ever wonder what the stats are for the Ctp that you want, if you're trying to max it out, again, a lot of people will just choose a Ctp that already has very close to max stats and just slap it on a character, even if it's not the ideal Ctp. And this you'll see in World Event when you play a team. You're playing those 3 number 1 heroes, and you're seeing, man, this guy's got a character. Most characters you're going to see with CTPs of Authority or CTPs of Destruction, and you're like, why does everybody use these CTPs? They're easy to reroll, and they just happen to have high stats, so they're going to give higher values. But if you want to know the max value, go over to the custom gear shop when that CTP is on chance up, click on it, and you will see. So if you want to give a CTP of Refinement, or if you have one that has stats that are very close to this, this would be another amazing one to put on, because it only has 3 possible rolls: the max HP, the recovery rate, and then the other recovery with the guard hit. But with the Ctp of Refinement, I do believe that you're going to get less points than Obelisks with guard break immunity, because that counts as a slightly higher roll than an actual stat. There are some irregularities or some kind of exceptions within different stats being worth different amounts. I believe resistances are worth more in terms of comparing Obelisk stats, but that can get a bit confusing, and I don't have the exact information on that. But just know that you need to go for the highest stats possible on the Obelisk that you use. And of course, because they want to make money, CTPs are obviously going to be worth more in terms of the stats that it gives you towards your growth score. After the uniform and after the CTP, you're going to have to look at the ISO weight set. The set itself doesn't matter. You just need to put down ISOs that are maxed out, of course, fully awakened, and then you want ISOs that have the highest number of stats. So for this case, this is an all defense. It doesn't really matter if it's all defense or energy defense or physical defense, but you want that number there. It's 282. If it's not 282, see, this one's 280, this one's 280, this one is 280. All of those stats could be higher. They could be 282, so I can get a few extra points if I were to re-roll them and get a higher number. It doesn't really matter if the actual stat is better or worse. It just matters that it's maxed out. I believe the max for these chaotic ones is 282 and 520. So I believe this is also, pretty far away from max. This one is a little bit closer on the attack, but actually worse on the HP, and then this one is also, pretty low. And then I believe this one maxed out is either 410 or 420 for the crit rate roll that you can get. So you have to re-roll the ISOs. You don't necessarily have to get the right stats. You just need to get the highest numbers on those stats. After that, and this is probably one of the reasons that I was never able to capture rank 1 Wolverine for a long time, you have type enhancement. I was lucky enough to get to rank 5 type enhancement, but since then I've been failing the upgrade to rank 6. This is going to be one of the biggest hurdles for you, and probably the biggest hurdle in terms of having the materials and then getting lucky. It's extremely rare to upgrade from 5 to 6 and succeed, and it's so painful to fail and then have to go back and play GBR for weeks or months trying to find a couple more of these, or opening up your wallet, going into the shop, and spamming the type enhancement box. And that is what basically holds me back, because I don't want to spend the crystals and I don't have time to be playing GBR 20 times per day. But this is the big culprit overall for a lot of people. So if you want to see a pretty large jump in your character's growth score, and you don't have a very high rank right now in your growth score, and you have a rank 1 or 0 type enhancement, bump that baby up and you will see big returns, I promise you. Next up, we have, of course, skills. Just level them all up to 6. It costs a bit of gold, but it's pretty easy to do, and it's, you know, fast. And then the very, very last one is the gears. Now, for characters that aren't level 70, you have to get the gears to 20. For characters that are level 70 but can't get tier 3, you have to get the gears to 25. So that's one thing that I'm missing with Iceman, and I'm also missing with Ronin, because his gears are not all 25. After the gears are 25, you need to enhance all of the Uru slots. So I've got 20 amplified for Wolverine. I don't have the same amplified for Iceman or Ronin. And then you have to equip all 6-star Uru. Now, even within the Uru, certain Uru are worth more stats than others, so you do have to also pay attention to that. Right now, it's a good time if you are trying to get a high growth score, because you can experiment equipping different 6-star Uru and seeing what it does to your score. It's not going to put a huge difference. It's not like thousands of points difference. It's only going to be like 10 or 15 points, but it can add up over time, or, you know, over a large amount of Uru. And then, of course, on top of that, if you want to spend even more money, of course, Odin's Blessings are going to bump you up even more, because they offer more stats, and more stats equals more growth score. So the second biggest hurdle after the type enhancement RNG and the type enhancement crystals that you have to spam in the store would be the Odin's Blessings that you'd have to spam in the store. And it's worse now than ever, because you can, you can randomly get a few Odin's Blessings here and there from World Boss Ultimate, but otherwise you're hitting up this disgusting chest that we already know is trash, and it's not even chance up on all of them anymore. It's only chance up on 2 of them, which is really, really bad and quite painful, to be honest, that they would actually do that. So, with that being said, those are all of the different ways that you can boost up a character's growth score to try and get number 1. There's a lot to consider. There's also some RNG involved, and then there's possibly a lot of investment, both in terms of your time and your gold, but potentially your crystals. So you do have to be careful. I would say that for people that are prone to that kind of competitive nature, to just be a little bit careful, because you can get sucked into that. And I've seen people battling back and forth, you know, rank 1, rank 2, rank 1, rank 2, and it gets especially heated during character ranking events. We don't have one on right now, but sometimes we have them. Sometimes the top reward is 3,000 or 3,500 crystals, and that's when people can get really heated about it. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention, because this is one of the primary ways that Netmarble makes money on the game. So it's one of their primary methods of monetization. So for those of you out there that have that that itch, just be careful, because it's designed to suck as much money out of you as possible. And then secondarily, for those of you that actually do want to push it, whether you want to just spend gold and time or you want to spend crystals, these are hopefully tips that can help you make the most out of your builds and kind of manage your resources so that you can dump them on a character that you want to get to rank 1 or whatever, top 10, either just for the prestige and just for the bragging rights, maybe for the world event showcase, so hey guys, you're playing with my character, or maybe for those juicy character ranking rewards when they come around. So let me know what you guys think of the video. Let me know if you think I should go for a rank 1 of one of these 3 characters, or if I should try to rank 1 a different character altogether, if I should keep it a secret. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you later today. Take care.